Have you ever wondered what it truly felt like to live in the Middle Ages? Not as a noble in a grand stone castle, nor as a knight with polished armor, but as a peasant, one of the millions whose names were never written down, whose days passed in quiet repetition, close to the earth, and closer still to struggle. Tonight, I invite you to step back in time, not to observe from afar, but to inhabit, to wake up one morning, barefoot, in the year 1265, in a world without electricity, comfort, or privacy, a world ruled by silence, superstition, and seasons, a life that was harder than we imagine, but also filled with moments of strange beauty, resilience, and ritual. You may think you'd adapt, that you'd last a week, but by the end of this story, you may feel otherwise. So lie down, let the modern world fade away, and prepare to spend 7 days in the life of a medieval peasant, a life full of toil, of survival, of quiet dignity, and constant discomfort. Let's begin. You open your eyes, but the world that greets you is not your own. There is no mattress beneath your back, only a thin layer of straw over hardened earth. The air smells of wood smoke and old wool. Above you, rough wooden beams support a thatched roof where tiny shafts of light pierce through the cracks. You blink, slowly. There is no hum of electricity, no glow of a screen, no clock ticking on the wall, just the quiet breath of dawn and a distant rooster calling. You've awakened in England in the year 1265. Your name? It hardly matters. You belong to the soil now, like everyone else in the village. Outside your small hut, the landscape is damp and soft with mist. The fields are still sleeping, covered in dew. Everything feels muted, except for the gentle sounds of life beginning. The snort of a pig, the creak of wood, the soft clinking of iron in the distance. It's morning, and the world is already waiting for you. You rise slowly, already sore. Your body feels unfamiliar, heavier, weaker, perpetually tired. There is no warm water, no soft towels, no coffee brewing, only cold air and a sense of urgency. The day has begun, and you're already behind. As you step outside barefoot, the mud greets you with a quiet squelch. You feel the chill creeping through your ankles, up your legs. A neighbor passes without a word, just a nod, eyes down, shoulders hunched beneath a rough woolen tunic. The sun is barely up, but the labor has started. You glance at your hands. They are calloused, dirty, cracked. They have never known softness. And yet, this is just the beginning. The Middle Ages are not what movies told you. They're not romantic. They are raw, earthy, and deeply physical. Every breath is earned. Every step is part of survival. You have arrived, but you're not ready. Tomorrow, your body will ache more. But tonight, you begin to understand what this life truly means. Welcome to the 13th century. The land, it is everything. You don't own it, not even a small corner, but it owns you. It cradles your hunger, punishes your mistakes, and demands your devotion. Each step across its uneven surface is a reminder of its ancient power. And each day you live, your body bends a little closer to it. This morning, like every morning, You walk to the fields, not with pride or passion, but with resignation. You carry a wooden hoe, worn smooth by years of use, passed down through hands as tired as yours. The field is shared with other peasants, and together you till it under the watchful eyes of the reeve, the man who ensures the Lord's land is worked as it should be. You begin to dig. The soil is stubborn, damp from last night's rain. Your fingers, already chapped, sting with cold. There are no gloves. The wind slips through your tunic, and the dampness clings to your bones. The tools are crude. The work is endless. There is no concept of leisure here. The land sets the rhythm, planting in spring, weeding in summer, harvesting in autumn, enduring in winter. Each season is both a promise and a threat. You think of the food you ate last night, a thin porridge made from barley with a few turnip pieces. It gave you just enough energy to stand today. You hope the weather holds. A bad crop means more hunger, and you've already felt the gnawing emptiness before. Your feet sink slightly with each step through the furrows. Your back curves with every swing of the hoe. Around you, no one speaks much. The work itself is too loud. A conversation of grunts, rustling wind, and the dull rhythm of labor. Yet, there's a strange poetry in the repetition. The land does not lie. It doesn't pretend. It gives what it can, and takes what it must. And when your day ends, if the sky is kind, you may bring back a little hope, a bundle of herbs, or a basket of weeds for the pigs, but never much more. You are not just working the land is working you, shaping you slowly until you become part of it, and you wonder, will you ever feel warm again? As the sun begins to fall behind the treetops, you return home, if it can be called that. Your dwelling is a simple hut, built from wattle and daub, with a thatched roof that whispers with every breeze. It stands low to the ground, hunched like the people who live within it, as if even the house is weary. The door is no more than a wooden plank, and it creaks softly as you push it open. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of smoke, earth, and old sweat. There are no windows, only small gaps in the walls where light leaks through. The fire in the center of the room, the heart of your home, glows weakly. It is always burning, for warmth, for cooking, for keeping away the damp that creeps in like a second skin. The floor is dirt, packed hard, uneven. You can feel each lump beneath your bare feet. There are no rooms, just one open space where everything happens. Eating, sleeping, living. A single wooden stool, a low table, a straw-stuffed sack in the corner that serves as a bed. Perhaps there's a single blanket, coarse and scratchy, shared between bodies when the cold comes howling. Smoke hangs in the air, clinging to the rafters. Your eyes sting, but you're used to it. Everyone is. This is the air you breathe. This is the life you inherited. In the dim light, you see your family. A woman stirring a pot over the fire. A child asleep on a bundle of rags. No one complains. There is no time for it. No benefit in it. Complaining doesn't make the roof leak less or the fire burn hotter. You sit down quietly. Your body sighs before your mouth does. The ache in your muscles hums beneath your skin like an old song. This is the end of your day, not with rest, but with less movement. Outside, night is falling. The village grows quiet, but your ears are still alert to the sounds of life. The crackle of the fire, the sniffle of a child, the distant bark of a dog. In the silence, you feel something ancient. Not comfort, not exactly, but presence. You are alive. You are here. And this hut, humble as it is, holds your entire world. Tomorrow, it begins again. There is no rooster this morning, only the wind, slipping through the thatch and brushing your cheek like a cold whisper. Your eyes open, not because of a clock or alarm, but because the light has changed. Dawn is a pale, gray presence, creeping through the gaps in the walls, gently urging you up. You didn't sleep well. You never do. The straw beneath you is lumpy and full of mites. Your joints ache from yesterday's labor. The blanket, if you had one, slid away during the night, and the chill has wrapped itself around your spine. You're not rested. You're simply not asleep anymore. No one wakes with excitement. There is no stretch, no yawn of luxury. You rise because life demands it, because the fire needs feeding, because the animals need tending, because the day has already begun. Without you, there is no sink to wash your face, no soap. You splash your face with cold water from a wooden bucket. It shocks your skin, but it does not refresh you. It's simply part of the routine, a brief sting to signal that your body must keep moving. Your breath fogs the air. You slip into your tunic, still damp from yesterday's sweat. The fabric is rough and unyielding. It smells of earth and effort. Your feet find your shoes, little more than stitched leather, worn thin from years of use. They offer little protection from the mud outside, but they're better than nothing. Outside, the village stirs. Smoke curls from the rooftops. Children cry softly in nearby huts. A woman leads a goat from a pen. Life is already in motion, and you are one step behind. There's no morning ritual, no quiet moment with a warm drink in hand. Just the cold, the weight of another day ahead, and the dull hunger in your belly. And yet, the sky is soft. The fields are waiting, and the land, though indifferent, accepts you once more. You begin to walk, not because you want to, but because that is what the living must do. You feel the emptiness before you even open your mouth, a hollow, gentle ache in your stomach, not sharp, just persistent, familiar. There is no real breakfast, no sizzling pans or warm bread, no rich smells drifting from a kitchen. The morning meal, if it can be called that, is often skipped altogether, saved for later when the body needs fuel most. What you have now is a sip of weak ale maybe, a crust of coarse rye bread left from yesterday, dry, hard, and bitter with the taste of survival. You chew slowly, out of habit more than pleasure. There's no butter, no jam, no sugar. Those are luxuries that don't belong to your world. You've heard of them. Honey, fruits, spices, whispered about in market talk, in the dreams of children, in the sermons of traveling monks. But they do not touch your tongue. If you're lucky, the bread is fresh enough not to break a tooth. If you're very lucky, someone in the village might have milked a cow before dawn, and you trade a handful of barley for a mug of warm milk, thin, a little sour, but nourishing in its own modest way. No one sits to eat. Meals are not moments of pause. They are fragments of time taken quickly, standing, before work begins. You eat with your hands. You wipe your mouth with your sleeve. You do not speak. Hunger isn't discussed here. It's simply a companion, always there, always watching. For the rich, the morning begins with meat, wine, and comfort. For you, it begins with hope. Hope that the next harvest won't fail, that this piece of bread isn't the last, that the body will hold out for one more day. You swallow. It's dry going down, but it's enough for now. And then, before you've even truly registered the taste, it's time to go. The fields call again. The fields may feed you, but the land belongs to someone else. You are not free, not truly. You are a villain, bound to the manor, tied not by chains, but by custom, by law, by birth. The lord of this land owns the soil, the crops, the tools, and you, not in the way one owns an object, perhaps, but in the way one owns a tree, expected to yield, to serve, and to stay rooted. You do not pay rent with coins. You pay with your labor 2, maybe 3 days a week. Your body is not your own. You rise early, not to tend your small plot, but to work the Lord's domain, the central fields reserved for the manor. These are the best lands, flatter, richer, better drained, and your work here is expected without complaint. Hoe in hand, you join a silent line of bent backs and blistered palms. A steward watches. He records names, tasks, outputs. He ensures no one steals, no one slacks, no one speaks out of turn. The Lord himself is rarely seen, but his presence is felt in every rule, every duty, every shadow. When taxes are due, they are paid not only in grain and eggs and firewood, but sometimes in days of labor. When the manor needs repairs, you help. When the roads wash out, you rebuild them. When war looms, you send your strongest son to serve. You have no choice. And then there is the church. Tithes must be paid, 1/10 of all you produce, even in famine, even in drought. The priest says it is for the soul, for salvation. But when your child goes hungry, salvation feels distant. Still, you kneel, you bow your head. You follow the rituals because you must, and because deep down, a part of you believes. Because in a life so bound by hardship, faith is sometimes the only thing that feels like freedom. So you serve the land, the Lord, the church, not because you are weak, but because that is the way the world is built, and to survive, you must move within its walls. The sun has climbed higher, and so has the weight on your shoulders. You've been working since before it rose, and now its light burns against your back, heating the rough fabric of your tunic until it sticks to your skin. Your hands are raw, your breath is shallow, and yet the work continues. There is no such thing as done, only the next task. A ditch to clear, a fence to mend, a wagon to push. The soil never rests, and neither can you, not without consequence. There are no breaks, no shaded benches, no midday naps. If you're fortunate, you pause briefly at noon to swallow a bit of bread or sip from a flask of watered-down ale. But the body never really rests. It simply waits. Your tools are primitive: a wooden plow drawn by oxen, a scythe dulled from overuse, a rake with missing teeth. Everything is heavy. Everything is slow. Every movement demands more than you have to give, but you give it anyway, because to stop is to fall behind, and to fall behind is to risk starvation. Sometimes, in the quietest moments between tasks, you look to the horizon, not to dream, but to measure how much field remains, how many hours until dusk, whether the clouds gathering in the east will bring rain or ruin. Your muscles burn, your back pulses, your fingers tremble from strain. But there is no voice in your mind that says, "This is too much." That voice has long since gone silent. What remains is instinct, the rhythm of survival, the knowledge that this is life. Around you, others move with the same resigned determination. Young and old, men and women, all shaped by labor, their faces lined not by age, but by effort. You see yourself in them, a mirror of fatigue. When the sun finally begins to dip, it's not joy you feel, just a kind of release, a soft exhale, the end of one burden, the beginning of another. And as you walk back toward your hut, sore and silent, you wonder, is there a kind of peace in being this tired? Your clothes do not comfort you. They bind, they chafe, they irritate. In this life, what you wear is not chosen. It is inherited, patched, reshaped, and shared. Your tunic is made of coarse wool, spun roughly by hand, and dyed with whatever plants were nearby. It is thick, yes, but not soft. It scratches at your skin like dry hay, especially around your neck and arms. Underneath, a linen shift offers the only slight reprieve, though it's often just as worn, just as thin. You have one, maybe two outfits. Washing them means risking exposure, standing in cold water, scrubbing with lye or ashes, your hands red and raw in winter months. So you wear them again and again, till the fabric thins to threads, until your elbows and knees begin to peek through. Shoes, if you are lucky, they're more like wrappings of leather, tied with cords, offering little defense against wet ground or sharp stones. The soles are thin. Your feet are often soaked, muddy, cold. There is no such thing as dry for long. If it rains, you stay wet. If it's windy, the air finds its way through every gap, and when it snows, the fabric stiffens into armor, not to protect, but to endure. Clothing is a tool, not a luxury. You wear what works, what's been passed down, what's been bartered. Bright colors are rare, expensive, reserved for lords or the church. You live in browns, grays, the faded greens of a world that cannot afford vanity. And in winter, when the cold becomes a living thing, you wrap yourself in layers, old cloaks, animal hides, whatever can be stitched or tied around your body to keep the warmth from fleeing. But still, the chill finds you. It seeps into your bones and sits there, stubborn, long after the fire has died. You do not expect comfort. You do not long for it. You simply bear what you must. And when night comes, and you lay down in your straw bedding once more, it is not with the softness of linen or silk, but with the weight of every fiber that touched your skin today. In this world, childhood is a brief and fragile thing. There are no toys scattered across the floor, no books to read by firelight, no carefree mornings filled with play. For the children of the village, your children perhaps, life begins with work. By the age of 5 or 6, they are already small laborers. Their hands, though tiny, grip baskets, pull weeds, scatter feed for chickens. Their feet, often bare, move quickly over cold ground, used to mud, stones, and pain. There are no shoes to grow into, only garments tied tight with cord, adjusted as needed, patched again and again. They don't go to school. Education is a luxury of the monastery or the manor. A few might learn simple prayers, or how to count using pebbles or sheep, but most learn from watching, from mimicking, from repetition. They learn how to carry water, how to stir a pot, how to hold a spindle, or stack kindling. They learn how to endure. Some children tend to the Lord's sheep, walking for miles with only the wind and the animals for company. Others help in the fields, their small bodies hunched beside their parents, planting seeds they will not eat for many months. They do not complain. They don't know how. Hunger teaches silence, cold teaches obedience, and yet they still laugh. Sometimes, in the early morning, you hear it, a giggle in the mist, as they chase a chicken or race through the grass before the day truly begins. There is joy here, fleeting and thin, but real, a soft defiance in the face of such harshness, a reminder that the heart, even burdened early, still seeks light. At night, they collapse into sleep on piles of straw beside their siblings, their limbs tangled, their breaths soft. No lullabies, no bedtime stories, only the lull of exhaustion. And in that quiet, you wonder, what kind of life will they have? Will they grow strong? Will they survive the winter? Will they remember anything beyond the next task? The child in this world is not a promise of the future. They are part of the labor and part of the cost. When the world gives you no comfort, you turn to something beyond it. In the life of a medieval peasant, God is not an idea. He is a presence, felt in the fields, in the sky, in the silence between chores. Faith is not a choice. It is the air you breathe, the thread that binds your days. In a world of hardship, belief is one of the few things that is truly yours. The church stands at the center of the village, modest and weathered, but sacred. Its bell tolls not just for prayer, but to mark time, morning, midday, evening, each moment soaked in ritual. You do not question these rhythms. You follow them as naturally as you follow the seasons. Inside, the smell of incense clings to the stone. Candles flicker, casting long shadows on the worn faces of painted saints. You do not understand Latin, but the chants comfort you. The mystery is part of the power. You bow your head, cross yourself, whisper a prayer for your family, for the harvest, for the pain in your back. You pray for mercy and for meaning. Your tithe, though heavy, is offered without rebellion. A tenth of your grain, your eggs, your labor, given in exchange for spiritual shelter. The priest, often the only educated man for miles, speaks of heaven and hell with equal certainty. He tells you that suffering on earth brings reward in the afterlife, that the poor are closest to God, and in your quiet moments, perhaps after a funeral or during a storm, you cling to that hope, that this toil is not in vain, that your name, though unrecorded in history, is known in heaven. You fear demons and curses. You carry charms, a scrap of holy cloth, a wooden cross. You mark your door in chalk. You light candles for the sick. In times of plague, you huddle in prayer, seeking protection in the unseen. Faith does not ease the pain, but it gives it shape. It makes sense of the senseless. It gives you something no lord, no crop, no tool ever can, a reason to keep going. There is no doctor coming. When illness visits your home, and it always does, there is no medicine, no diagnosis, no promise of recovery. There are only symptoms: the shaking chills, the burning fever, the sudden weakness that drops a man to his knees in the middle of a field. And then, waiting, you don't know what causes it. No one does. Maybe it was the bad air, the miasma that lingers near stagnant water. Maybe it was a punishment from God, or a curse, or simply fate. There are herbs, yes, dried leaves, and roots hung from the beams of your hut. A wise woman in the village knows which ones to steep for cramps, which to rub on burns, which to place under a child's pillow when the coughing won't stop. But these are small comforts. They soothe, not cure. When someone gets truly sick, there is no hospital, no antibiotics, no second opinion. There is just the pallet by the fire, the bowl of water, the silent prayer. You do what you can. Cool the forehead, whisper words, keep flies from the eyes. You watch their breathing. You wait for it to slow or to stop. Children die often, sometimes in sleep, sometimes in your arms. A fever takes them in days, sometimes in hours. Adults fare little better. A wound can fester. A cough can last through the winter, hollowing the ribs until it becomes a part of them or ends them. You have heard stories of distant healers, of relics that cure, of monks with strange tinctures. But those belong to another world, the world of cities, of monasteries, of nobles. Not here, not for you. Burials are simple: a linen shroud, a hole in the earth, a prayer, a tear quickly wiped away, and then the work resumes. Always, in this life, death does not arrive with drama. It comes like a guest who never truly leaves. It stands quietly in the corners, beside the fire, in the breath of a sick child. You do not fear it loudly. You simply live close to it, because you must. There are no locks on your door, no walls to keep danger out. Only the dark and the knowledge that it has teeth. Violence in your world is not an event. It is a possibility. Quiet, constant, crouched at the edge of every day. It does not announce itself. It doesn't need to. It's part of life. Like the cold or the hunger, you know what can happen. You've seen the signs. A hut burned in the night, the bruises on a neighbor's face, the rumors of a band of outlaws hiding in the woods. Maybe you've heard the distant clang of armor, knights riding to settle some lord's quarrel, trampling fields that weren't theirs, taking what they pleased. There are no police, no court you can turn to, justice, when it comes, is brutal and public. A man who steals a loaf of bread may lose his hand. A woman accused of witchcraft may be drowned to prove her innocence. The law is not something you rely on, it is something you fear. And yet, most violence comes not from strangers, but from within your own village. Disputes over land, over animals, over insults whispered near the well, a shove, a knife, a body, then a silence that settles over the community like a fog. No one speaks of it, not for long. Life moves forward. It must. You live carefully. You watch your words. You lower your eyes when a reeve walks past. You avoid the tavern on days when tensions rise. You teach your children not to draw attention, to keep their heads down, their thoughts quiet, and at night, as you lie on your straw mattress, you listen, not for wolves, but for footsteps, for the sound of a door being opened that shouldn't be, for voices rising in anger where there should be none. Violence does not always come, but its absence is never guaranteed. And so, even in your sleep, you remain half awake. If the life of a peasant is hard, then the life of a peasant woman is harder still. Her labor is constant and mostly invisible. Before the first light, she is awake, tending the fire, nursing the baby, sweeping the dirt floor, preparing the day's meager food with what little remains from yesterday. And when the men go to the fields, she does not rest. Her work simply shifts. She fetches water from the stream, heavy buckets swinging from her shoulders. She feeds the chickens, mends the clothes, scrubs the wooden bowls with handfuls of ash. She weeds the garden. She spins wool. She patches holes in the roof. And when harvest comes, she joins the others in the fields, scythe in hand, a baby on her back. She is both housekeeper and farmer, both mother and healer. Her body is not her own. It belongs to the land, to the family, to the will of the seasons. When she bleeds each month, there is no privacy, no comfort. When she gives birth, she does so without doctors, without anesthesia, often alone or with the help of another village woman. And when she loses a child, as many do, she buries them, wraps her shawl tighter, and returns to her work. There is no room for grief here. Marriage is not often for love. It is arrangement, necessity, survival, a joining of two houses, two pieces of land, two names in a ledger. Her worth is in her fertility, her strength, her silence. She may never read, never write, never speak to anyone outside her village, but she knows the weight of life and how to carry it. Sometimes she sings, softly, while washing clothes, or stirring porridge, or rocking a child who won't sleep. Old songs, sad ones, songs passed down from mother to daughter, woven from longing and memory and soil. And yet, despite all this, she endures. She endures because she must. Because no one else will carry what she does. Because the family depends on her. Because her strength, though unspoken, holds the village together like the roots of an old tree. The world may not see her, but she is its foundation. Not every day is sorrow. Amid the cold, the hunger, the backbreaking work, there are days, rare and sacred, when the world feels a little lighter. Feast days, saint days, harvest festivals, moments when the village exhales together, when time bends, just for a while, into something that feels like joy. You don't have much, but for these days, it doesn't matter. A pig might be slaughtered, a lay brewed stronger, bread made with finer flour. You wear your cleanest tunic, still worn at the edges, but less soiled than usual. Children laugh freely. Even the oldest among you crack a smile, warmed by fire, by drink, by the sight of music being played beneath the open sky. The music is not polished, it is raw, alive. Fiddles and flutes, tambourines and voices, singing songs older than memory. You may not know who wrote them. It doesn't matter. The rhythm is in your bones. The melodies move your feet, even if they ache. You dance because it's what you do. When you're allowed to remember that life can still be beautiful, there is food passed from hand to hand, more than usual, maybe even meat, spiced, hot, tender, honeyed cakes if the season has been kind, and ale, enough to blur the edges of sorrow, to soften the lines around your eyes. For a night, your body feels younger, your heart less burdened, and stories are told, not the grand ones of kings and knights, but the ones that belong to you, of winters survived, of strange omens, of that one year when the apples grew twice as sweet. Laughter rises in waves, echoing against the fields. For these brief hours, no one speaks of lords, or taxes, or the blisters on their hands. You are simply human, and that is enough. By morning, the aches return, the duties, the silence, but the memory lingers, like embers after a fire, warming the soul for a little longer. Festivities in your world do not last, but when they come, they burn bright and wild, a spark in the dark. In a world ruled by soil and sweat, justice does not come from men alone. It comes from the sky. You do not live under the protection of clear laws or fair trials. Instead, the weight of right and wrong is measured by the heavens, by signs and omens, by the will of saints and the silence of storms. The Church teaches that God sees all, and so you live your life under His gaze, humble, trembling, hopeful. When something goes wrong, a failed crop, a sudden death, a strange birth, the village searches not for reason, but for sin. Who angered God? Who brought this curse upon us? Perhaps someone did not tithe properly. Perhaps a child spoke back. Perhaps a woman walked alone at night. There are rituals for these fears. Holy water is sprinkled, crosses carved into doors, bells rung to scare away devils. You live between these gestures, half in the sacred, half in the unknown. Judgment is swift, often cruel. If theft is suspected, the accused may face an ordeal, walking over hot irons, plunging a hand into boiling water. If the wound heals, clean, they are innocent. If it festers, God has spoken. No evidence is needed, only faith. Witchcraft is feared. A goat's illness, a child's fever, a spoiled batch of ale, all could be signs that someone nearby consorts with dark forces. Women, especially older ones, are vulnerable to accusation. A wrong word, a strange herb, a look held too long, and the whispers begin. And yet, for all this fear, the spiritual life is not only burden, it is also beauty. The church bells ring out across the fields like voices from another world. Candlelight dances on stone. The scent of incense lifts you above your aches. If only for a moment, you kneel on cold floors and feel something, maybe peace, maybe hope, maybe just stillness, settle inside you. You may not understand the mysteries of faith, but you believe in them, because when the earth gives you little, and the people even less, heaven feels like the only justice left. And in the end, when your work is done, when your eyes close for the last time, you hope that someone, somewhere, will remember your name, even if only God. You do not speak of death in whispers. It is not a stranger here, not a surprise. It is a companion, quiet, familiar, always near. It follows you in the fields, sits beside your fire, sleeps in the same bed where generations have taken their last breath. You know its face. You've seen it in your parents, your neighbors, your children. You've dug its hole with your own hands. There are no hospitals, no heroic rescues, no comfort at the end. Just a fading, a slowing of breath, a stillness that overtakes the body without protest. Sometimes it comes with warning, a cough that lingers, a wound that festers. Other times, it comes in sleep, or with a fall, or in the swift, cruel way of plague. Funerals are simple, a shroud, a prayer, a body lowered into earth, still marked by other graves. There are no stones with names, no marble carvings, no dates, only the memory of those who remember. And when they too are gone, the name fades like mist. Children do not fear death the way modern minds might. They see it too often. They touch it. They help bury siblings. They feel it in the silence of a mother's voice, in the cold absence of a father's steps. They do not weep loudly. They carry sorrow like another chore. And yet, there is peace in the familiarity. You do not live pretending death isn't real. You live with the knowledge that life is brief and precious for it, that each meal, each song, each beam of sun on your skin is a gift carved from inevitability. You work not to escape death, but to give meaning to the time you have before it comes. In winter, the losses come more often. Cold steals breath in the night. Famine steals it in silence. But still you rise. Still you plant. Still you tell stories by firelight. Because even if death waits patiently, life insists on being lived. And in the quiet space between the two, you carry on. Winter does not arrive all at once. It begins with a change in the wind, colder, sharper, slipping through the seams of your tunic like a blade. The sun lingers lower in the sky. The days shrink, and slowly the world hardens. The fields go silent. The streams slow to a glassy crawl. The trees stand bare and brittle against the gray. Your body knows before your mind does. The ache in your joints deepens. Your breath curls from your lips in thick clouds. Your fingers crack at the knuckles. Your feet go numb before sunrise and stay that way long after. Inside your hut, the fire is now your lifeline. You huddle near it, feeding it scraps of wood, dried dung, anything that might catch. But the heat never lasts. It warms the face, not the room. Smoke clings to your skin, your hair, your lungs. It stings the eyes. But you sit close anyway, because stepping away means shivering. Food grows scarce. The storage pits hold only what was saved, and sometimes it wasn't enough. Turnips, onions, salted meat, if you were lucky in autumn. More often, it's pottage, a thin stew made of anything edible. You eat slowly, not to savor, but to make it last. Illness comes easier now. A cough turns into a fever. A chill settles into the chest and doesn't leave. Children sleep more. Elders sleep too much. And when someone dies, the ground is too hard to bury them. You wrap them in cloth, say a prayer, and wait for the thaw. But winter is not only death, it is also quiet. The pace slows. The village draws inward. Stories are told more often. Songs are sung by firelight. Wool is spun. Repairs are made. You hold your loved ones closer, not just for warmth, but for comfort, for the simple reminder that you are not alone in the cold. And in that stillness, you remember, you have survived winters before, not because it is easy, but because it is what you do. Not all light is lost in the dark, even in the bitter cold, even under skies the color of iron. There are moments, small, tender, that glow like embers in the soul, moments that remind you why you keep rising each day, even when your bones protest and your breath fogs the air. A child's first step across the packed earth of the hut. A newborn lamb, shivering, wobbling on thin legs. The first green shoot piercing the thawing ground, whispering that spring is not a myth, but a promise slowly making its way back to you. Sometimes it's the sound of laughter over a shared joke during supper, the way the firelight flickers in a loved one's eyes, the softness of a song hummed while spinning wool, the same melody your mother sang and her mother before her. Hope is not grand here. It is not a banner waved from castle towers. It is humble, hidden, often overlooked. A good harvest, a dry week, a healthy birth, a loaf of bread that rises just a little higher than the last, a day without pain. And there is hope, too, in memory, in knowing that others have walked this path, have carried the same burdens, have knelt in the same dirt. Their footsteps are beneath yours, worn into the land itself. You are part of something ancient, not forgotten, but continuous, a line that stretches far behind you, and, if you are lucky, ahead as well. You do not dream of riches. You dream of enough. Enough food, enough warmth, enough years to see your children grow tall and strong, enough spring days to plant once more. In this life, hope is not a dream. It is a seed you protect with your bare hands. By now, your mind is weary. The charm of time travel has worn thin. The sounds, the smells, the weight of the days. They press on you like the heavy sky before a storm. You ache in places you didn't know could ache. Your body moves on instinct, your thoughts slowing, as if even they are tired of carrying this burden. You miss things you didn't think mattered. Clean water, dry clothes, a moment alone. You miss silence without smoke, rest without pain, warmth that isn't earned by splitting wood or stoking ash. You miss a world where illness doesn't always mean farewell, where your name might be remembered, where you can breathe without worry. You begin to understand what luxury truly is. Not gold or power, but the freedom to choose how to spend your time, the chance to rest when your body begs, the ability to say no without fear, to speak without punishment, to live without constant survival etched into your every action. And so, some part of you, quietly, guiltily, longs to return back to the softness of your bed, to warm water flowing from a tap, to food that doesn't require hours of labor, to peace that isn't interrupted by superstition or the silence of a loved one's death. You don't wish this life away. No, you honor it. You've walked in these worn shoes, eaten this bitter bread, heard the lullabies sung by firelight. You've seen the dignity in endurance, the strength in simplicity, the quiet heroism of surviving each day without giving up. But you're ready to go home, back to your own time, not to forget this journey, but to carry it within you, a whisper of the past that will echo in the soft moments of your modern life. You would not survive a week here, and that's okay, because you were never meant to. Night falls, and the village sleeps. The fire in your hut burns low, casting long shadows across the packed dirt floor. Outside, the wind sighs through the trees. The animals settle into silence, and you, wrapped in the same rough blanket, lying on the same straw mat, feel something different. Not the ache in your bones, though it remains. Not the hunger, though it still hums beneath the surface. What you feel is a kind of reverence for life, for time, for every comfort you once took for granted, the warmth of your own bed, the ease of a hot bath, the quiet companionship of a light switched on in the dark. These things, once ordinary, now shimmer in your memory like precious artifacts. You realize that the past was not just a different time, but a different world, one where survival was a triumph and rest a rare gift. And yet, there is beauty here, in the silence, in the stillness, in the resilience of those who lived without asking for recognition, who bore their days with grace and humility, who built the very foundations upon which your modern world now rests. You've walked their paths, you've worn their clothes, you've felt, in your bones, the shape of their days, and as you drift toward sleep, this time, in your own time, your own bed, your own soft world, you carry their memory with you, not in sadness, but in awe. You do not forget them. You thank them for showing you what matters, for reminding you that every bite of food, every moment of peace, every breath without pain is a comfort hard-won. Sleep now. Let the past settle softly behind you, and may you wake tomorrow with gratitude in your heart, and history still whispering gently in your dreams.